Welcome to Electrifying and welcome to the Renault 4 E-Tech. Now this is such an important car for Renault because the 4 is the latest model from its past to make a comeback. And the original sold millions and millions. So will the all-new, all-electric Renault 4 live up to the legacy of that car? Or will it be the sequel that flops? That's what I'm here in Paris to find out. The original Renault 4 was launched in the 60s and it was marketed as being simple and functional. A car for everybody, man or woman, whether you lived in the city, the countryside or somewhere in between. It was even a race car, coming second in the 1979 Paris-Dakar Rally. Renault liked you to think of it as the blue jeans of the car world because of its versatility. When I was growing up, we had family friends in France and we used to spend loads of time there, and they owned one and I absolutely adored it. You would see them everywhere in France, the way you'd see Minis or Fiestas in the UK. So it's a real part of French culture, and I think Renault is pretty brave to be bringing it back.
Nearly 60,000 Parisians took Renault up on their offer of an instant test drive. Renault comfortably hit its first-year sales targets.
And now, some 60-odd years later, it's back. And instead of a little four-cylinder engine like the original, you get a choice of 2 batteries. But today's car market is far more competitive than it was back in the 60s, when a car like the 4 was groundbreaking. And electric cars have to come up with something special, particularly because the Renault 4 is slotting into a very competitive corner of the market, the medium-sized electric crossover. There are loads of them.
See what I mean? Now, slightly confusingly, the 4 isn't smaller than the Renault 5, as you might expect. It is based, though, on the same platform, and that's been tweaked to make the 4 12 centimetres longer and about 8 centimetres wider than the 5. So it's more in line with cars like the ones you've just seen, the Kia EV3, EX30 and the Hyundai Kona. Sharing those components with the 5 does help to keep costs down though, which is a very good thing. We were chatting about these kind of mum cars and we were having a bit of a moan about the fact that loads of them look the same, a bit boring, they're a bit interchangeable. But I don't think anyone can accuse the Renault 4 of that. You know, the French do style well, don't they? And I think they've done it well in this case. So let's take a look. Right, where to start? Okay, round here at the front. One of the things I love most about this car is the grille. It is quite massive, almost in BMW territory, isn't it? It's about 1.5 metres long, but I love the way that it's illuminated, it's backlit. Renault says this is the first car in the world to have that. I'm not entirely convinced, and I'm pretty sure that if it isn't, you will tell us in the comments below, won't you? But either way, I think it looks great. This is also the first car to get an illuminated Renault logo, which again, I just really like, makes it look modern and fresh. Now, if you look at the old car, one of the big things about it was the way the headlamps were placed within the grille. And again, they've done that here. They're here within that backlit grille, and I think it's just a really nice nod to the original. Now, the Renault 5 was always about personalisation. If you remember when that car came out, there were stickers and baguette baskets and all of that stuff. This is getting that too. So these little sections here, again, nod to the original car, will be, you'll be able to personalise them, do different bits and pieces with them. What else to tell you? Oh yeah, the cut line here. It's quite unusual to see this. And again, it's just to make you think about the shape and the lines on the original. I think it's been really nicely done. It's not a pastiche. You can tell where they're going, but it's got a lovely kind of modern feel to it. Now, I love this bit. It's this little sticker. It's not really a sticker, it's a bit more solid than that. It's an embellishment. It's a little embellishment that runs down towards the wheel arches. And again, if you look at the original, which is just over there, it just replicates and references the lines from the original car, as do these 3 lines that run along the body and then round at the back. I love it round at the back. Even the 4. How cool is that? It's just so nicely done. Looks so classy. Does anybody remember? I think it was the 90s when people used to steal really cool car emblems, Volkswagen, and people would wear them on chains. I predict that this is going to happen with this, that people will be wearing this 4 badge around their necks. the lights. So obviously on the original, again, you had those triple lights on the back, and even though it's really nice and modern, it's still got that reference to it. This, however, I'm not so sure of. So it's got this rear quarter light, which again is quite an obvious throwback to the original. But it just feels like there's quite a lot going on here. I love so much about this car, but I'm just not convinced about this bit, so I'm just going to stand here. And there, you don't have to look at it. Now, I can't stress enough how much the boot matters when it comes to cars like this. Trust me, I have many years of lived experience of this. Boots on cars in this class need to swallow pushchairs, scooters, bikes, shopping bags, suitcases, bags of stuff that you put in the back of the car to take to the charity shop and never quite get there. They need to be able to cope with tip runs, visits to the garden centres. They are used a lot. And I can report that boot space is good. At 420 litres, it's larger than the space on offer in the Volvo EX30, although to be fair, that's not hard. But it can't quite compete with roomier cars like the Kia EV3, which is bigger. However, I do love this load area, which is really nice. And there's some clever options. So along with the rear seats, you can also fold the front passenger seat. It's a first for Renault, but you've seen that in other cars before, in the Hyundai Insta for one. But what it means is that you get loads of versatility with the load area, which is really, really useful. However, you've got little pockets on the side there, and I'm wondering where you keep your cable, because I looked under here, and no, there's no cable being kept under there. So I'm at a loss. So I'm going to go and hunt for the cable, see if I can find cable storage. Hello, cable.
As hard as I looked, I couldn't find anywhere to store the cable because there isn't one. You see, if you opt for the Harman Kardon sound system, which this car has, then you lose that space, which on other models you'll find underneath the boot floor in a handy plastic cover. Worth considering if you do want the fancy sound system.
So inside, it's quite Renault 5-y, isn't it? You know, you get your stitching there, and all of this stitching and little padding there, that's very Renault 5. And, like a bit of houndstooth. Right then, in terms of tech, the Ford doesn't exactly fall behind, but it's not class leading. You got the two screens here which look like they're combined. First one, of course, faces the driver. It's a 10.1 inch screen which drops to 7 inches on entry-level models. Central screen is 10 inches on all versions, and it features the open link system with Google, which is Renault's new infotainment system, and it does work pretty well. Like other Renaults, you get loads of advanced driver systems. I think there's 26 of them on this. So you've got loads of support there for daily driving. And there's also the Renault AI avatar to help you if you need a bit of extra help. I am slightly disappointed, though, to see the gear selector here on the steering wheel. I absolutely love the fact that it comes with interchangeable cases, a bit like a lipstick, which the Renault 5 does. But I do find the positioning of this stalk steering wheel, it's just a bit weird when you use it. Renault's got it in other cars, and I don't love it, if I'm honest. But I do love the fact that, like the Renault 5, you'll get loads of 3D printed accessories. Headroom isn't the best, actually, if you go for this really beautiful folding roof, which operates just like this. It's so nice. I really love it. But it definitely takes away some of the headroom. The other car that doesn't have this roof is definitely better. So that's worth bearing in mind. Yeah, and once that's down, it's quite dark in here, isn't it? The sort of the aperture of the windows is quite narrow. So, yeah, I don't know about that.
When it comes to performance, you've got two versions, a 50 kilowatt model with a 40 kilowatt hour battery and a 110 kilowatt model with a 52 kilowatt hour battery. Incidentally, like the Renault 5, the motor has no permanent magnets and it uses no rare earths, which is good. The range is decent, around 186 miles for the smaller model, just under 250 for the larger one, which, as you'd imagine, is in line with the Renault 5. When it comes to speed, 0 to 60 takes 8.5 seconds, and it has a top speed limited to around 95 miles an hour. But speed's not going to be your priority, is it, if you're after a car like this? And being electric, it's inevitably going to feel nippy and quick off the mark. And true one-pedal driving will apparently be available on some models, which is good, as the regenerative braking on the Renault 5 did disappoint me slightly when I drove it. And if you haven't already, please do check out that review over at electrifying.com, and of course you can also check it out here on our YouTube channel. It's also going to have a turning circle of just 10.8 metres for easy driving and U-turns on city streets, whilst the damping has been improved to soak up the weight of the battery and will hopefully give a smoother, more comfortable ride. Charging tops out at 80 kilowatt DC for the 90 kilowatt motor and 100 kilowatt DC for the 110. AC charging is 11 kilowatts, no option of faster 22, but both models do come with 11 kilowatt AC bi-directional charging, which allows you to charge things up from your car and also sell energy back from the grid if you have a compatible charger.
Prices. Of course, prices haven't been announced yet, but given that this is going to sit somewhere between the Renault 5 and the Renault Megane, we expect it to start at around £28,000 for the smaller battery, going up to around £35,000. And this is where I think the problems start for the price. As I said at the top, it's not like the 60s. This is a really competitive market now. This is up against loads of competition. Cars like the EV3, which starts at just under £33,000, and for that you get 267 miles of range. If you spend £35,995, that jumps up to 371 miles of range. That's 120 miles of range more than the big batteried Renault 4. Those figures make the starting range of this car of 186 look pretty poor. And I think the decider for loads of buyers in this side of the market, many of whom will be switching to electric for the first time, will ultimately be: how much range are you going to get for your money? So, has the sequel nailed its comeback? Well, it certainly ticks a lot of boxes, and from here, I absolutely love it. I think you see this behind you on the road and you think, oh, that looks fantastic. Not quite so sure about that rear three-quarter, and I think I get a sense that Renault has perhaps played it a bit too safe. Don't know, we'll have to see when we drive it, won't we? And of course, as always, let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you aren't already, do make sure you subscribe and switch your notifications on so you know when we get to drive this car for the first time.